We start with some security stories. An armed men ambushed a bus outside of Binduri on Tuesday night, leaving one person dead and several others with various degrees of injury. Now, according to eyewitnesses, the armed men opened fire on the fully loaded bus, instantly killing the driver and injuring some of the passengers to varying degrees. Before fleeing the area, the attackers reportedly set the car on fire as it traveled from Tamale to Boku. The injured have subsequently been sent to Boku Presbyterian Hospital along with the deceased. In response to distress calls, the Ghana National Fire Service, the police and the military arrived and put out the fire. It was unclear what spurred the heinous deed, but according to the residents, Boku has been the target of gunfire for the past 5 days, leading to the death of 8 people. Meanwhile, the military have intensified public sensitization in Boku with a view of getting them to facilitate a lasting resolution of the deadly conflict. The campaign took the military deployment to the Boku Senior High School, where the students were urged to report suspected criminals.
At least 8 persons have been reportedly killed in fresh sporadic shooting within the last 5 days. Several others were also injured around Sakbari, Zogo and Wednamzua.
There's a task force here to ensure that we have a sustainable peace. And then we believe that the peace that we want, it is not only the military approach. So when we are here for a mission to protect the people, for them to have peace, they must understand why we are here.
The renewed shooting was reportedly triggered by an attack on a businessman by armed men about 25 meters away from the Boku police station.
When we know how to keep our country, how to love ourselves, from that beginning we have created peaceful coexistence among ourselves. So we want to reiterate the point that the military is a friend.
The yet-to-be-identified armed men reportedly robbed the victim and smashed his car.
When we have weaknesses in our system, the threat that we face today, you can't easily identify who is the threat. They are aimed at causing fear, panic, and distorting commercial activities, distorting livelihood. Productive hours are lost.
The community engagement was to preach peace to more than 3,000 pupils and their teachers at Boku Senior High School.
So the task force is to make sure that we bring all these indicators that we are seeing, which are negative in our society, and then the people of Boku not having the life that they should have, we have to bring them back. Free transportation movement, free market facilities, schools are working together.
Colonel Entry urged students to develop good neighborliness and to share the same with their parents in order to promote peaceful coexistence in the municipality.
Changing of your mindset, I've talked about it. Taking responsibility, I've talked about it. Now, as part of the effort to keep ourselves safe so that we can have the liberty to grow, liberty to develop, liberty to love ourselves, we say, when you see something, you say something.
Let's stay on security issues now. And 2 people sustained machete wounds following a clash between traders and some men at Akwantia line in the Asawase municipality. The bloody scene saw people run for cover.
The clash occurred when some traders at Akwantia line allegedly made an attempt to halt a project for fear of eviction. It is not clear who sent the heavily built men to man the project site and neutralize agitation by the aggrieved traders. However, their presence escalated an already tensed atmosphere. Heated argument ended in fisticuffs. It later turned bloody, an eyewitness narrated. Some of the injured have been receiving treatment at the Menchia Hospital. A spokesperson for the affected traders, Nafie, alleged the contractor instructed the macho men to beat them up.
And one person used to Takashi by force before court very realized no more you. And to almost say one person used to force and there's your crop for say Yampino. Yampino and
They want to compulsorily take or use force to claim the land. The court indicated that we did not properly come before it.
It was later revealed that the project was being spearheaded by the Asokore-Mampo Municipal Assembly. Matthew Emisa, the presiding member, confirmed.
Say Obantem Kakaka, say not or tries over fro a fence and chance down, while Brana officer Ada and Memas ever. To one of young a fence in the Hinduanas with young the cat.
The project is for the assembly. We were here to see how far with the development.
No call for any assembly members. And into a has a project, a cost one.
Calm has since returned to the vicinity.
Now, a former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources under the Mahama administration, Inusa Fuseni, has debunked claims that Enoch Holdings started working for the ministry in 2014. He told Alfred Okansi on Ghana Tonight that there was no such arrangement when he was the sector minister.
Well, I was at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources from 2013, January to be precise, 2013. And I left the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in July 2014. And I am not aware of the existence of a contract between any private citizen, and particularly Enoch Holdings, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources during my tenure as minister. I got to know Enoch Holdings, and I believe you are speaking about Clement Jatu, when I got to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. His presence at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources predated me. He had brought an investor, a Chinese investor, to do a shopping mall, and the land they were looking for was the atomic energy lands. The way and manner they went about acquiring the land for the shopping mall was not satisfactory. And so I thought that the way they were going about acquiring the land was wrong. And so the process had to start all over again. But the process was never completed before I left the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Now, moving on, food inflation has been a significant driver for Ghana's double-digit inflation over the last 1 year, as government reiterates continued efforts to tackle food production to lessen the burden on Ghanaians. Recent global trends point to potentially worsening food situations in the country.
With over 54% inflation recorded for food alone in the month of June this year, food prices continue to be the biggest drivers of increasing cost of living for the average Ghanaian. The trend is now projected to continue even further in the wake of events on the world scene. Russia on Monday said it was withdrawing from an agreement to allow grain exports from Ukraine through the Black Sea. The agreement, until this decision, has helped stabilize global food prices and alleviate shortages in parts of Africa and the Middle East. As if that is not enough, the European Union is also extending until September 15 an arrangement whereby 5 of Ukraine's EU neighbors can restrict import of Ukrainian grain. The development, according to Director of Research at the Institute of Economic Affairs, will have an effect on food prices. In a tweet, Dr. John Kwachi believes Ghana must brace itself for even higher food prices as Ukrainian grain supplies are being once more restricted. It is disappointing that we can't produce enough local food to reduce inflation, he said, a position backed by the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. He believes no deliberate interventions from government means Ghana is at the mercy of global trends.
We all know very well that we should produce enough to feed ourselves. But unfortunately, all our strategies over the years to have enough food to feed ourselves have not actually achieved the results. As it stands now, what government needs to do is to increase investment in agricultural production. But I just wonder whether government has got the resources to do so. And not even only that, the bureaucracy that goes with government in terms of resources to productive areas, particularly agriculture. So I am not seeing that government, first and foremost, is ready to change its course to invest more in agriculture.
Let's stay on this issue now. And an economist, Professor Godfred Bokpin, says the impact of the increase in global food prices on Ghana could have been avoided if government effectively implemented interventions like the Planting for Food and Jobs policy. Now, according to him, the current double-digit food inflation of 54% could worsen if efforts are not made to reverse the trend.
Perfect feedback on government intervention of Planting for Food and Jobs is actually these global shocks. If we had done it well, we would have seen the true effects of that policy intervention. Then the important question we need to ask the government is that where is the food and where are the jobs? This is the time to demonstrate the efficacy of that intervention. As we can see, and like many other flagship programs, it actually benefited the privileged few while the majority look on.
Now, improving productivity remains a pivotal area in helping restore Ghana's current economic fortunes as experts work to eliminate possible threats to this. The biggest of such challenges is perhaps the hours spent in traffic. On arguably one of the busiest stretches here in the capital, long productive hours continue to be wasted over poor roads. Here's a report. It's a sunny Tuesday morning, and for workers, it's rush hour. As usual, everyone is in a hurry to beat the early morning traffic and get to their destinations as fast as possible, even if it means waking up much earlier. But for commuters who ply the Odoko-Malam road, getting to their destinations fast has very little to do with how early they set off. For them, the tale is much different. This road serves as a major highway for persons moving from Circle to Weja, Kaswa, Winneba and its environs. Yet the huge craters left in the road have created a sorry sight for regular commuters.
We spend so much time in this traffic just because of that road, and there are always MTTU people there and nothing has been done about it.
It's been over 3 months since the road got this bad. All the cars going to Kaneshie often slow down, and those of us making U-turns get stuck.
They do it often, but it gets paused too often. So that causes a lot of traffic. You can check the front there.
There are several factors that come to play here. Cost of fuel, cost of spare parts, and most importantly, the hours that die away.
Even now, there are noises under my car. I have to buy an absorber tomorrow. Government should help us because we are already struggling. The road which serves commuters coming to the Central Business District from as far back as Central Region is in such bad shape that drivers are struggling to maintain their cars.
And sometimes you give up on buying because you buy, the next day you're going to come through this road.
It's rough, bumpy and undulating. Yet, this is for us coming through only for a few hours of reporting under the sunny weather. So, imagine what the situation is when it rains. It's evident that until this road is fixed, commuters will continue to bear the brunt. Judith Chitando, TV3 News, Odoko, Accra. Let's head to court now. An NDC head of legal affairs, Abraham Amaliba, has described the witness statement of the prosecution's first witness as unhelpful after cross-examination by lawyers for James Jechi Kwesing. Now, Richard Techi Mensah began his witness testimony after the court dismissed an early application by Jechi Kwesing to stay proceedings due to an appeal at the Court of Appeal. Lord Eduasare reports.
Judge Mary Mami Ekwe-Yanzu in her ruling noted that none of the applications filed by Jechi Kwesing's lawyers acted as a stay of proceedings, nor compels the court not to continue with the hearing of the criminal trial and order the hearing to resume. After cross-examining the NPP Central Regional General Secretary for about an hour, the court adjourned the hearing for the trial to continue on Wednesday as part of the daily hearings. Lead counsel for the Asin North Member of Parliament, Chachi Chikata, argued that it would be impossible to appear due to the application, which was going to be moved at the Court of Appeal, but the court maintained its order. NDC Head of Legal Affairs, Ibrahim Maleba, spoke to the media.
Was in 6s and 7s. In fact, he swore an oath that his statement was written in English. It turned out that when he was shown his own statement, he spoke in Twi and it was recorded. That goes to the credibility of the witness. That goes to his mindset. So clearly, today, you notice that the prosecution's witness was not helpful to the prosecution at all. And even when he said that he had attached documents to his complaint to the police, one of the documents he said he attached was a statutory declaration of Jachikwesin. It turned out that there was no attachment of that sort.
Like clockwork, some members of the minority in Parliament showed up again in their numbers in support of their colleague MP after boycotting parliamentary proceedings. Lord Idwasari, TV3 News, Accra High Court.
Now let's head to Parliament. The majority in Parliament says it is counting down the minority's boycott of proceedings to trigger the necessary processes for sanctions. Here's a report by Komla Kluche.
Why are the MPP MPs worried about the absence of the NDC MPs when they have 138 MPs on their side?
There are ministers who are also members of Parliament. And we have to be practical here. Sometimes somebody is traveling out of a jurisdiction, there's nothing you can do about it.
Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
Now, on the international front, wildfires are raging in several areas of southern Europe, including mainland Greece. The most severe in the country currently is in Devenochoria region. Smoke billowing from the area can be seen on satellite imagery. The EU is sending firefighting planes to Greece as the country attempts to tackle the fires. Meanwhile, the Italian island of Sardinia is expected to see a high of 46 degrees Celsius this afternoon.